Hi, Mark here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a newsletter for your business 100% on Autopilot. We're going to create a newsletter website that allows you to collect subscribers, post the newsletters on your newsletter website, and also have them delivered by email. The platforms we're going to use are Ghost for the newsletter website and Make.com to compile the newsletter every day. So there are a few tricky aspects to doing this, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to be able to build this quite quickly, but it's some really tricky problems to solve in this one. So it's actually quite fun to build, and I hope you'll find it useful. And I've solved all them problems for you, so you can just go ahead and copy this automation and have this in your business yourself today. So let me show you what we're going to build, and then we'll jump in. So this is what the newsletter looks like. We have a newsletter website here, this is the home page where you can collect subscribers, and you'll have the individual posts which the user can take a look at. So we're going to have the top 4 stories for our newsletter here, or the most recent 4 stories that we've published on our website. This one is Dogecoin jumps 25%. This is because Trump's about to get into power by the looks of it. I think he already just has. And these are the 4 stories. So the 4 stories, latest stories, will be in full in the newsletter. And then any other stories in the last 24 hours, we'll also add links to the bottom of the newsletter here so that they can also be read if the reader wants to. That's how the newsletter looks. As I say, you'll also get the same newsletter delivered by email. So that's something that we'll work on as well. But yeah, we're using the Ghost platform for delivery of emails, but also for publishing our newsletters. So without further ado, let's jump in. If you're interested in this automation and grabbing hold of the unbelievable opportunity that exists today for AI automators, then I recommend you check out my school community, where you can download this blueprint and many more and be up and running in a matter of minutes. It's this simple. Navigate to the blueprint you want to download in the school community, go over to Make.com and select Import Blueprint, and you're ready to go. In the school community, we also have automation learning materials and access to a full calendar of events, including masterclasses, Q&As, co-working sessions, and live streams. When it comes to AI automation, if you want to up your game, then this community is for you. Head over to school.com/AI-automations to get started. Now back to the video. So we're going to start by creating an account on the Ghost platform here. So you can get started for free. There's a number of different pricing plans. Fortunately, there's no free plan with Ghost, but there is a cheapish plan to get started of $9, but you do get a 14-day free trial if you want to give this a go before you sign up. Now, if you do want to work with Make.com, you're going to need access to the API, and the API is only available with the creator plan onwards. So you can see here custom integration, so that's not available on this starter plan, unfortunately. So in the past, I generally use Beehive for my newsletters. There is a Make module for that, but it doesn't allow you to create posts. So we're going to go ahead and use Ghost because that does. It's also a great platform to use. It's one that I hadn't used before, but in setting up this automation, I've given it a go, and actually it's a really nice platform. So we're going to go ahead and get started for free here. So let's do get started. Welcome back to the .ai. I'm going to create a password here. Continue. So this is going to be called Crypto Eagle News. So we're going to use the example website that I've built. Once you entered your payment information, you get this Let's Started screen where you can go ahead and do the things to get set up. So I'm going to go ahead and upload an icon and a logo here. Just going to go ahead and change this accent color slightly, make it a little purple. And in the theme here, so the site background color, you can see I've uploaded the logo here, but it's a white logo, so we just want to change this so it's something that we can actually see. So I think the site background is going to be a bit too black, like that. We want to add a sign up heading here, so where it's got thoughts, stories, and ideas, you can change that. Delivered to your inbox daily. Sorry, so yeah, this one's down in the footer here. Crypto news delivered to your inbox daily. So the header text, now that should show up here. There you go. So there's lots of options to style the theme. We're going to leave like that right here, and you can go and check those out if you're interested in doing a few more things. So we'll save that. Close. Explore the editor. So this is where we're going to go ahead and edit and create our posts, but we'll come back to that in a moment because we're not going to be editing them ourselves. So this is one it created for us automatically, but we can go ahead and delete this one as we don't need it. So just go over to here, scroll down, delete post. Okay, so now we've got no posts on the website. Go back to the dashboard. There's a couple more things here to do. So you can build our audience, so we can add ourselves as a test. So you just click this button here, and it'll do that. So it's already added me there by default. Go back into our dashboard and show your publication. Well, we don't need to do that yet because we're not ready to go ahead and promote our newsletter. So go into the dashboard now. So this is the dashboard. And here's where we create our posts. So we've got drafts, schedules, and published. That's the main thing that we're going to be looking at here today. There are a whole bunch of other settings that you can go in and take a look at. So now that we've done a basic setup in Ghost, let's jump over to make.com and start building the automation. So I'm going to click create new scenario here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the news from the Crypto Eagle site, which is our demo website. Currently I post a whole bunch of blogs every single day, all written for me on Autopilot. If you haven't seen this case study before, this blog is 100% AI, all the images, all the text. If you're interested in learning more about that, subscribe to the YouTube channel, take a look at the previous videos, but also sign up to our school community. And that link is in the description there. But what we're going to do on Autopilot is we're going to take all of the news that has been published on this site in the last day, and we're going to roll it up into a newsletter. So the latest 4 posts will make its way into the top of the newsletter, and the remaining posts will be little links at the bottom. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you could do this to customize the newsletter. For example, you could look in your analytics and look at the most popular posts and make those the ones that are featured at the top of the newsletter. But that's a bit more advanced, and we're going to keep it simple today. So in this first part, we just actually want to really count the number of items that we have back from the feed, because if we don't have at least 4, then that doesn't make a newsletter. If we only have 1 news item in the last 24 hours, which is unlikely on this website, but we need to make some provisions for it. So we want to check that we've got at least 4 posts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an array aggregator. We're going to pull back the title. This is for later on in the automation, and I'll show you why, but we're going to pull this back so that we can add an excerpt to the newsletter. So we'll have the title of the newsletter, which will be Crypto News Today, the date of the newsletter, but also after that we want to have a little excerpt, which is going to be, we're going to pull back the top 4 titles, the top 4 stories. So we're just going to click title there as well, and click OK. So if I run this now, go ahead and run this. This is going to get us our most recent 4 stories. So we've got 4 bundles there. If we take a look in here, we can see that there's 4. So when you use things like the array aggregator, you can't actually go ahead and pull any data out from this RSS feed now. You can only pull data out of the array aggregator. So let me show you an example. If I go to tools here and go set variable, if I look in here, all I've got access to is not the RSS feed module, but the array aggregator module. So that's not going to be serve us for what we need right now. So next up, we're going to pull down again, use another RSS module to pull down those 4 articles again, so we have access to them. So let's unlink this, let's delete that, let's add the RSS module, retrieve the feed again, and once again we're going to retrieve the top 4. URL here is this, and again we're going to take the last 4 posts from the latest 4 posts in the last 24 hours. So let's click OK here. Next up, we're going to set some variables. So I've been using this pattern more and more actually with automations that I create. So I've got a programming background, and generally when programming, what you do is you set all the variables that you want to use throughout your code at the top of the code, so they're easily accessible, easy to find, they're not all just convoluted and in amongst all of the code. And I found that actually once you start building more complex automations, if you start declaring variables throughout the automation, it gets hard to find them, it gets hard to manage them, and actually it's quite nice just to set the variables you're going to need early on and set them all in one place. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set multiple variables, and the first one we're going to set is what we call the first heading. Now when we pull down this RSS feed, it's going to be in an HTML format, which is exactly what we want. So we don't really want to transform that into just text or anything like that, because the Ghost platform accepts HTML in that format. So if we've already gone to the trouble of formatting our blog post with nice headings and in a beautiful way, we want to just transfer that over to the newsletter. So the problem I have with that, particularly on the Crypto News website, is that a couple of other things also get included with the post. So we've got this Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. So whenever any of these coins are mentioned in a blog article, I always put the latest price on here, and that actually gets pulled down. And we don't want to put this into the newsletter because this is what would be hard coded. It won't be dynamic for a start, but also that's just additional stuff. We only want this stuff. So what we're doing here with this first heading is that we're just going to find the place where the first heading is. So we want to know when is this first heading showing up, and this is where we want to start taking the content. So what we do is the variable will set like this. So we want to say index of, so we're putting in the description here. So the description is going to come from the RSS feed, and we're finding the tag. So if you're not familiar with HTML, the way that you describe a heading is that you do this. So if you want an H1, so if you want the top heading on the post, you do H1. This is the title, and then you close the heading. Or H2 is the same, so that's the next one, next heading down. So that's basically the first subheading. You want that formatted in a particular size. So we're just going to take the first heading. Generally it'll be an H2, but just in case, we're just going to search for the first heading in the page by doing that, and that's going to give us the location of the page. So later on in this automation, we can just say take everything from that H heading onwards and ignore the stuff above it. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to add another item here, and this one's going to be called the image URL. So what I'm going to do here is set the URL of the image so that we can add them to the newsletter. So remember, this is the first 4 posts where we're going to create everything, including all of the text, and the image is going to make up the newsletter as well. If I run this automation without this piece, you'll take a look and you'll see what I mean. What you can see is we have this ID here, which is the URL or the underlying URL of the post, which gives us the post ID. So we can go ahead and pull that post ID out because we've named our image the same. That's the convention that we used when we create the images and upload them to WordPress. So next up, we're going to set another variable. So a variable here. And this is going to be the content. So this is the content for each of the posts that we're going to pull out and put into the newsletter. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use the variable that we used in the last module. So this is the description in here. So this is from the RSS module, and then the first heading is actually from the previous module where we set that in here. So if you remember, this was us stripping off the top part of the blog here, the bit that we don't want. So we just want to start from here. So what this is going to do is say the substring. So it's going to say take the description, the full description. What we're going to do is we want you to just start from where the first heading is and then right down until the end of the post. And last but not least, we want to aggregate all of this text together now. So we've got 4 different pieces of text that we want to create into one piece of text before we go ahead and upload it to Ghost. So we're going to go to Tools again. We're going to go into Text Aggregator, which is this one. Now the source module is always where you first got the data from. So sometimes it can be confusing, like which ones of these do I use? But just think about where that data was first received. And that's the one that you need to select. So we're going to here, RSS, retrieve RSS feed items. And here, I'm just going to copy and paste this piece of text again in here. So what this does is we're just formatting the title and the image of the post ready to upload into Ghost. So we're just adding some HTML here, which will help us format the title of the story. So I'm going to go and swap these out. So this is URL there. I'm going to go title as well. This is all from the RSS module. Title again here. Image URL. Content here. This is the content from the previous module here that we set. Save that again. And run. So what we should have now is all of the content for the first 4 stories. So if we take a look at the output, here's the first story. second story, third story, all aggregated together. So it's these 4 stories here. They're all separate and we aggregate them all together. So we've built this top part here. What we've got is we want to create these other stories down here as well. So we're going to create all these individual links. So go back into make. Go and grab RSS feed again. So retrieve the items. Grab the URL. Here. As many items as you can. Click OK. Now there's no way to say in this module to just ignore the first 4 stories. We have to just take all of the stories. So there's a little hack that we have to do to try and fix that. Which reminds me, if I go back here, we've also got to add a filter in here to make sure there's at least 4 stories, if you remember. So I'm going to call this count stories. And the condition is this is equal to, let's do a number, equal to 4. So we asked for four items in the RSS feed. If there's less than 4 items, that doesn't make a newsletter, so we're not going to go ahead. So it will stop there if there's less than 4 stories. So we need to do equal than 4. You could say less than 5 or less than or equal to 5, but 4, we've asked for 4 specifically. There should be 4, so that's fine. So in a minute we'll come to how we're going to ignore those first 4 stories, but what we need to do initially is do something very similar to what we did the first time around. So we're going to set a variable. I'm going to change it to, even though we only set 1, I'm going to set multiple variables, just because often you find you need to go back and add this, and then you have to copy and paste variables over. So I always use the set multiple variables. And here again, we're going to go first heading. So we're going to ignore that piece at the top of the article, the Bitcoin prices and all those things. So description, click OK. Again, we're going to go ahead and set a variable. This one's going to be called content. Paste this in, save watching me type. Description, and then the first heading as well. Okay, so this is just pulling out that content ready to put into the newsletter. We've covered that. We're just repeating ourselves here. So the next thing, this is new, is we want to do the incremental function. So what this does is it will count every time the automation runs past this point. So there's some different values that you can say here. So you can say reset never. If you say reset never, that continues counting forever. So every time the automation is run, every time it passes through this part of the automation, it'll just keep counting. So ultimately it could get to thousands. You'll actually know how many times the automation's run in that respect quite easily. But we don't want that. We want to get rid. We're going to use this count to count once we've got past the first 4 stories, which we want to ignore. Then we're going to use this counter to say, okay, now we're on the 5th story. We want to add that as a link. So we want this to run every time. So it's not after one cycle, because we're going to scroll through all the stories that are in the last 24 hours from the RSS feed. So if we do one cycle, then every time we go past, it's going to reset it to 1. That's no good. We want it to be just one scenario run. So we're going to go through all of the articles in the last 24 hours. Once it gets to the end, next time it comes through that automation, it will start again at the counter. So I'm going to do after one scenario run. So that's really important to get that working. And then at the end, we're going to set a text aggregator again. We're going here. And this time, we're going to select the source module as the RSS feed again. And the text in here is different. It's HTML again, but this time we're just going to have the URL and not the content. So the title of the article, which is ultimately a link to the article. So we go in here, we click the URL, and here we're going to go title. Click OK. So this is where we're going to use the filter to make sure that we're only using the posts after the 4th post. Remaining posts. The condition is that I, which is what we get from the counter. So this is the counter variable. And then we're going to say it's greater than the numeric. It's greater than 4. Click OK. So now we're only going to go and aggregate the posts that are past the fourth post, because it's not going to get past this filter. So this section in grey here is just going to keep running until we've exhausted all of the posts in the last 24 hours. But this will not add any of those articles to the aggregator here. That is it now. Now we've got all of our content. Let me run that through so we can show you. And anyway, so if we go into here, this is now just the texts nicely formatted in paragraph tags, bold here. So we've got 6 that popped out of here, and they've all been nicely added as a single piece of text using the aggregator. So now we just need to upload that to Ghost. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Ghost, create a post. So we'll go ahead and add a new connection. Ghost newsletter school demo. So now we need to go into Ghost and pull out the API information. Go into the Ghost admin area here, go into settings here, scroll down, go to integrations, add custom integration here. So I'm going to call this make.com. Add. So first we want to go ahead and get the API URL. So we'll do that, which is this one. And the admin key, which is this. Down. And then the integration ID. So it shows you here what you need to do for this. So you need to go to your domain, settings, integrations, and it'll be your ID that's in there. So click on that. So it's this key up here that you need. So copy, paste, click save. Hopefully that should work. Okay, great. So in here we can add the title. So we're going to call this Crypto News Daily, and then we're going to have the date afterwards. So I've just formatted the date into day, month, year. So that's going to give us 05 November 2024 or 06th November 2024 as it is now. The status, we want to be in draft because we want to approve it before it goes out to the world. And the only other thing we need to add here is the HTML. So this is the text or the content at the top of the article. So that's this one here. So there's our 4 stories with the images and all of the text. And then underneath, under the title Other Stories, we want to go ahead and add in the remaining links to the other stories. So again, we've used a bit of HTML here, which will be inserted into the newsletter with some breaks. So the BR means new line, ultimately. And the H2 is a heading, which says other stories. Now you can add the custom excerpt in here too. So this is why I created the titles over here. So what we can do is we put 4 of these in. And we've got 4 stories that we know of. So we can say first story, second story, third story, fourth story. And then I'm just going to add some commas in between. A full stop at the end. So we'll have the title of our newsletter, which will be Crypto Eagle News with the date, and then underneath that it'll just have the headings for each of the 4 stories, so people can get an idea of what's going to be in that newsletter before they open it. And that's all we need to do. So let's click OK, save that, and let's run that and see if we can get a nice looking blog post in our Ghost account. There you go, let's run through. We'll go back over to Ghost, go to posts, go to drafts. There you go. This is the one we've just created. So at the moment we're missing the images, and that's because of how I changed the URL structure, because they're not in the correct structure. You can see they're inserted in there, it's just that they don't look great at the moment. This is the content of the first one. Put a horizontal rule in as well, which I didn't mention, but that was part of the HTML that we uploaded. And after the 4 stories, we then have links to the remaining articles. So what I'll do is I'll go and publish that, but then I'll go and update some of the image URLs so we can actually see them. Going forward, it'll just work because I've changed the URL structure for the image URLs when they get uploaded to WordPress. Let me just update the URL manually for each of these, and then we'll come back and so we can see it in its full glory. Okay, so I've uploaded the images now, so they're in the new URL structure. So let's run this through again and see if we can't get the newsletter looking how we want to. Let's go back to drafts. This is the new one. And there we go. So we have our post here with the images in just how we want it. So it's looking good, I think. Also, we can change the theme and things, how they look a little bit, but that's what we're looking for. So I'll go ahead and publish this now. So this will be the process. This comes into drafts. I'll give it a read through. Obviously, I've already read the blogs at this point, so I know the blogs are okay. Just more really just looking at the format and checking the format's okay. It should be every time. Unfortunately, you can't get Ghost through the API to go ahead and publish and send. You can get it published, so you can have the post published, but you can't get it to send an email through the make module. So here you can go ahead and you can say, well, I'm going to publish and email it, publish it only, or email it only. So the make module, you can make it publish only, you can't make it publish in the email. So I've got one subscriber, which is me. I'll publish it right now, I'll schedule it for later. So I'm going to schedule it right now, or send it right now. So I'll go ahead and do that. Send and publish. There we go. Gives the option to go ahead and share that link now. But if I go to the website, can go ahead and click on this. This is the post that we've just published. You can go ahead and see that the post has been updated. So I've got the dark theme enabled. That's why it's dark here. So that's all functioning exactly how we'd expect, or exactly how we'd hope. So I'm going to go ahead and click this just to make sure some of the links are working. They should be. There you go. That seems to be loading. Okay, perfect. So last of all, what I've done, what you can do is you can go ahead and add some sort of notification to let you know that the newsletter is ready for review, so ready to go ahead and publish it. So I've set up a Twilio account just for a bunch of things, not just for this. But what Twilio does is it lets you send a text message. So you can create a message, and there you go, you can send a message from. So when you set up a Twilio account, I won't click on it because it'll show the phone number, but you can get a mobile number, so you can send it from that mobile number. You can specify the mobile number you want to send it to. So I just send it to my own number. And then in the message body, I just say new post is ready for review, and then just give a link to the post so it's easy for me to go ahead and review it by clicking the link within the text message. But this could be Slack message, Discord, any number of ways that you'd like to, or an email maybe, any ways that you want to be notified that the newsletter is ready. So that's it. That's how you create a newsletter for your business 100% on Autopilot. It looks pretty good, I think. It looks pretty professional. Let me know if you use this automation. Also, if you like these automations and you like this video, then please subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Also, check out our school community in the description, where you can go ahead and download these blueprints. You haven't got to follow along with the video, and just upload them directly into your Make account, and you're ready to go. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.